My name is Mark Mitchell, and I see that you have made it this far in the discussion board link. This is a commentary or my thoughts on this week's article. The title of it is Names, Logos, Mascots, and Flags, the Contradictory Uses of Sports Symbols, and it was written by Stanley Eitzen. So the purpose of this recording is just to help you with composing your discussion board post and making sure that you post it on time, and just to share with you some of the thoughts and that I had regarding this article. Well, I want to start here by explaining how Eitzen tries to describe, explain the various symbols and how they unite and divide groups of all people from all spheres of social life. So names are very important, and they help to define characteristics, attributes, and self-concepts. Eitzen says from the article, school symbols are, as used in sports then, have power not only for maintaining in-group solidarity, but also for separating the in-group from the out-group and perpetuating the hierarchy between them, end quote. And I believe he certainly is right that names do have a significant amount of power, and of course the symbols that are associated with them. We see that high schools and colleges using Confederate symbols that were originally meant to unify are not perceived that way by some groups of people in the same country. So for example, African Americans do not see Confederate symbols as symbols of unity, or in some cases that is true. The population of Mississippi is 1/3 African American, but yet some of the universities there use symbols that are offensive to a large percentage of state residents. By 1983, the university had backtracked on this policy, but some fans still practice these long-standing traditions. Symbols do indeed have an amazing impact upon people. As a second example, Eitzen focuses on Native American names that are connected again with sports teams. Their general use is generally rejected by Native Americans as a whole, according to Eitzen. The group here is more accepting of Native American names in conjunction with their heritage, or in connection with their heritage. The former use of sports symbols connected to Native Americans is frowned upon because of the stereotypes that they may perpetuate, while the latter use associated with heritage is approved of. Eitzen gives an example of the Atlanta Braves and Chief Nakahoma, who comes out of a teepee after an Atlanta Braves player hits a home run, and then Chief Nakahoma does a ceremonial dance to show appreciation. Many fans and other onlookers view this as an acceptable practice. But consider, for example, if the Atlanta team were not the Braves but had the nickname instead the Darkies, and after a home run a person came out looking like a rural black man out of a tar paper shack, and instead of doing a dance he picked cotton. Would this be perceived as the same way? Would others be as accepting as maybe with Chief Nakahoma? It would probably be no, the answer to that question. However, many may not see the harm in using names and logos in such a way, but the above quote from Eitzen's article makes a clear contrast. The dictionary defines redskin as offensive, which is an appropriate discussion because there are many discussions going on right now on whether the Washington Redskins should pick a different last name to represent their football team. There have been many letters written by congresspeople to the NFL chief to express their discontent and how they perceive Redskins to be a derogatory, offensive, and racist name referring to the football team in Washington. Many may not see a problem with that, and one of Eitzen's major points is that most people do not see this as a problem when potentially they should. Now, despite going back to the dictionary and defining redskin as offensive, we can also look at the behavior that accompanies all the props in some of these sports team examples. They seem to be derogatory. They don't appear to be positive, but that is what Eitzen is generally trying to get across to the reader. It leads us to a question. Why do groups with no Native American history refused to give up these symbols. Talking about maybe the owners of the Redskins or the Atlanta Braves or any other organization. And maybe the answer to that question is because it has become a part of their symbolic identity. A further discussion point that Eitzen brings up is religious practices, and they can come under the same distinction according to his article. It is not hard to imagine after that gender could also be impacted. Eitzen again states, quote, despite advances made by women in sports since the implementation of Title IX, widespread naming practices continue to mark female athletes as unusual, aberrant, or abnormal, or invisible. End quote. Physical markers, girl, gal, feminine suffixes, use of lady for proper behavior, male as a false generic, a male name with a female modifier, double gender marking, and male-female pole polarity are examples of how female athletes are made to be invisible or unusual when compared to male athletes in Eitzen's eyes. About 38% of colleges and universities have sexist names. Tradition prevents many, again, from changing these practices. In conclusion, many do not see the harm in what the article has been discussing. Its overall importance can be seen through the author's position. Quote, most of us, however, fail to see the problem with symbols that demean or defame the powerless because these symbols support the existing power arrangements in society. End quote. The answer lies in diversity by those in power. This last quote by Eitzen is representative of one of our three major theoretical perspectives in sociology. He is, of course, referring to the social conflict perspective, which beautifully fits into what he's talking about, whether you agree or disagree. And it's very important when you read any of these articles to listen, to read, to hear what the author's saying, but then come to your final conclusion. Whether it is agreement or disagreement, that is entirely up to you. There's more than one point of view, although the authors of these articles typically have one in mind. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you very much.